Hi everyone, welcome back to my studio. I wanted to pop on before I start this Fun Fast Friday video real quick just to show you how nothing goes to waste in my studio. If you remember at the during the last Fast Fun Friday when I colored the stamped tissue paper with ink, and I had a piece of mop-up paper. It was a quarter sheet of watercolor paper that I just mopped up the excess color and just left it aside to dry. I broke out the Sidekick this morning, and out of that quarter sheet I got these pretty little tags that I cut and embossed with the Sidekick. Out of the same sheet, these were the scraps from the tags that I ran through with the embosser and got these nice little embossed or debossed, whichever way you use, pieces that I can use. This was a piece that was off the end, the very end. I just inked around the edges. That can be used, it can be a bookmark, it can be stamped on or whatever. And even these last little pieces, but they're pretty, and they'll just go in my tray of scraps. And you never know when you just need a little pop of color for somewhere. So just wanted to show you that that quarter sheet of watercolor paper that I used to mop up the inks didn't go to waste. So those are all going in my tray of scrap papers. What I want to do today is just quickly make some background papers using old book pages and napkins. So I pulled out these two napkins, and this one I pulled because I thought I might later on want to incorporate one of these tags or some of these papers, and it goes really well color wise. So I pulled this one. These are both from the same very old book, an old children's book. The paper is so brittle that when you bend it, it just cracks off. So I'm starting with larger pieces, and I'm just going to open up the napkin, tear off a corner so that I can get to the ply. Some come apart easy and some don't. The ones that don't, like this one, I'm just going to take a piece of tape and stick the tape on there and then tear it off, and it will very easily take that backing sheet off. These are just 2-ply, I think, but I'm not real sure. Let me get this tape and see if I can get another. Oh, that tape's not probably going to work. I don't, maybe there is another ply. I'm not sure if there is or not. Oh, there is, see? Okay. So if I had another full piece of tape, that would have torn it better for me. This one is stuck on a little bit more than the first ply was because it's embossed to the colored front. But anyways, if you haven't worked with napkins before, using a piece of tape is usually the easiest way to separate the plies. So there we go. And these can be colored just like we did with the tissue. You can stamp them, color them, and use them just like background tissues. However you would use the tissue, you can use these pieces, so no need to throw them away. Like I said, nothing goes to waste at my house, so we'll put those aside. So for this one, I'm just going to get my matte medium. Where is it? Here it is. I'm going to get my matte medium. This is just regular Liquitex fluid matte medium. And my old brush. And I'm just going to apply matte medium to this paper. This will also help sturdy up these old book pages that are so brittle. The matte medium does that really kind of all by itself to some extent, but then just adding the layer of the napkin on top will help it even more. Now I could tear pieces off of this, whatever I wanted to do with it. I'm just going to cover it like this. I don't mind wrinkles. Matter of fact, I kind of embrace the wrinkles because I like the texture that the wrinkles add. I'm just going to smooth it down, and I am working on a non-stick craft mat here. But you'll see as I start to add the matte medium to the top of the napkin, you can see the book page text and music and little illustration shine through. And that's the beauty of using napkins. And these will just become background papers. So I may use the whole thing in my art journal. I might just use pieces of it. But it's nice just to have some made up on hand ahead of time. So, and I just continue to add matte medium until I don't see any specific or obvious white spots of the napkin. Then I know that it's completely adhered to the paper without any dry spots. Sometimes it takes a couple of coats depending on the thickness of the napkin ply or how much glue you have in your brush. You can use ModPodge for this step. I prefer the matte medium. I just find the ModPodge a little too thick and sticky for my liking, but a lot of artists do use that and it works just as well. Okay, and then I'm just going to set this aside to dry, and then I can find some place to sit it. Okay, let it dry, and then I will trim the rest of that napkin off. And then I really like this one as well. I find that to be really pretty. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab a piece of, you can use, excuse me, you can use double-sided tape to do this, and then it kind of sticks to your finger and helps you pull it back off again a little easier. I don't happen to have any right here. That's up in my office. But any kind of tape will do. Just stick it down well, leave a little corner up, and it will easily peel off a layer for you. That one came off really easily. And let's see if we have another layer here or not. Sometimes when you get to this part, yes, you can kind of tell if there's another layer because you don't see the colors quite as vividly as you would expect, depending on how colorful the front of the napkin is. And like I said, the second ply usually comes off just, I mean, it's not hard to get off, but you get a little more resistance just because of the embossing around the edges, but not difficult at all. And then the process is basically the same. On this one, I think I'm going to just do part of that book page, and to make it easier to get the napkin to tear where I want it, because in this case I kind of want it to go on an angle, just take some water on a brush and kind of make a line where you want to tear the napkin, and you get a lot more control. You're not going to get a precise line, but you'll get a lot more have a lot more control over where the napkin tears, just like that. And so on this one, I think I just want to cover part of this, just about like that. So same exercise, just matte medium on the book page. I think I got enough down here. And you can smooth it out with your hands like I did the other one, or you can go like I'm doing here and just, in this way you'll get more wrinkles. If you don't want wrinkles, smooth it out first with your hands and then coat it over the top. If you don't mind wrinkles or you're going for wrinkles, you can even scrunch the napkin up more before you start applying the matte medium on top. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put some matte medium on the book page where I don't have napkin, again just to shore up that page a little bit and make it a little thicker and a little more durable. Now while it's wet, you can, where's my ruler? You can just hold a straight edge there where the edge of the book page is. Side. And just tear it along your straight edge. And then when it's completely dry, you can just come back in and snip the excess off if you want to with a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife. So those are two examples of just going over the book pages to create a background paper for your junk journals, your art journals, whatever projects they might fit into. And I don't know if you can see, I think you can. This is the ply that was closest to the printed sheet, and you can see sometimes you're lucky and you get like a ghost image. Let me pick this up so it's closer, you can see it better. So that's a bonus. Okay, so this one I'm going to put down straight into my art journal instead of onto separate papers that will be used later. I'm going to use this one now and create the background paper. Well, that came off easy. I didn't even need the tape. Yeah, that one's coming off extremely easy. Okay, that's a really pretty napkin. Let's see, do we get any ghosting on there? Not a bit. Okay. But we do have this pretty embossed edge that if it was glued down and then some ink dripped on there or some high fluid acrylic, that embossing would pick it up and would be look cool. Alright, so I decided for this one, I had a dictionary page that I just tore in half diagonally, and I'm just going to put that down on my page. Okay, now I need to decide where I want to position this, and I can see through there enough, I think, to see the edges of my book pages. So in this case I want to go all the way across the page, so I'm going to get my brush again with water and just pull it down the center of the page right there, so I can tear it a little more easily where I need it to tear. And a lot of times if you tear at a 45-degree angle, it will go straighter. So that came off pretty well. But what I don't want is this to be upside down. So again, I'm going to come across here with my brush of water. And you can see pretty much a little guidance with my hand that went pretty much where I wanted it to go. And then I'm going to lay this down on this bottom half of the page. And here's my bottom border that I'm going to be careful because that's wet where I put the water to rip it. I could have dried it, I suppose, with my heat gun. Not really necessary. You just have to be careful unless you aren't worried too much about ripping it some more. It will dilute the matte medium a little bit, but not enough to be bothered by. And you can see the dictionary page, the text coming through there. And it's just a really nice, interesting effect. Now I could have put color through this center part if I wanted to, or all over the whole thing, maybe some transparent color that would still let the book text show through. But I have more things planned for on this page, so I'm not going to worry too awful much about that at the moment. And I'm going to tear this border off. And if you use a smaller, if you use a smaller brush, it won't get as wet as this does. This has. Now I can decide if I want to keep this whole piece. I think I want to take some of this off so that I'm not totally covering up this bird. I'm just going to tear that off. I'm not going to worry about wetting it first. Look, crease. And again, you can go over the edge and then just trim that where it's hanging over. You can trim that off later. Or you can tear it off now if it's wet along the edge. Should be able to just tear it off. It'll just be uneven, so depending on what you want. But that's easy enough to do. And then just go along there again, make sure that it's stuck down well. And now this page is almost ready, but I want to put this border back on up here. So I'm going to add a little more matte medium. Line that up, the outside edge. And you'll see what was on the napkin now coming through that border, where down here you only see the book text because that's all it was covering. But that just is a good example of how translucent napkins become once they're glued down. So that's it. Fast Fun Friday. 3 ways to use your napkins to prepare background papers for further embellishment and artwork on book pages, music, old music, or right in your art journal. So have fun with some napkins, and I'll see you later. And in the meantime, go make some art. Bye.